Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your hurricane outlook and discussion. It is the second day of June and the second day of the Atlantic hurricane season, and not much going on out across the Atlantic basin, I am happy to report, which is typical for June. Normally we don't see much activity in the month of June, and hopefully that'll be the case this year. I am sure all of us have better things to do than to have to deal with any tropical mischief. But just in case there is something that pops up, that's part of what we do here. Keep an eye out for such stuff. And we begin with the National Hurricane Center. That's a good starting point, a good foundation for keeping this watchful eye on the tropics and in their tropical weather outlook for the next 48 hours, as well as the next 120 hours going out to 5 days. Nothing across the Atlantic basin in the eastern Pacific. We do have Blanca out here, which is gradually winding down. I'll show you why in just a moment. In fact, we'll just do it now. Why don't we? So the satellite animation here, courtesy of tropicaltidbits.com, shows some interesting things that kind of explain why things are generally quiet in the Atlantic, at least the western part of the Atlantic. You can see here strong upper-level winds cutting across from southwest to northeast, strong upper-level winds over the Gulf, just too much westerlies. And that strong upper-level wind pattern where the wind is going this way, anything coming from the other direction, like a tropical wave, is going to get sheared apart. And that's one of the reasons why we don't typically see much activity in June. It takes a while for those westerlies to kind of lift to the north, and a larger pattern of upper-level calmness sets in. That doesn't usually happen until, hopefully, climatologically speaking anyway, what normally is supposed to happen, that happens later in August through September and part of October. You can get these periods, though, when you get favorable conditions coming along, and we might see something like that coming soon, sooner rather than later, I guess I should say, and I'll show you what I mean about that in just a moment. And speaking of those upper-level winds, those are also even cutting across Blanca over here in the southeastern Pacific. There's the tropical storm, struggling with the stronger upper-level winds, slightly cooler water temperatures in this region over here, and this will eventually just kind of fade away into existence or out of existence or something like that. It'll no longer exist. A swirl, a remnant low-pressure area, and you can see even on the infrared shot here, there's the low-level circulation, it looks like, and all of the deeper convection is getting pushed off to the east. So no worries from Blanca. Now this is kind of cool. I talk about different layers of the atmosphere. It's been a while since I've pulled up this graphic from our good friends. I don't know any of these people personally, but I regard them as good friends because they put out these awesome graphics from the University of Wisconsin. Yes, they study tropical cyclones up in Wisconsin at the Cooperative Institute for Meteorological Satellite Studies. I don't care where you are. You could have the University of Antarctica. I don't think there is such a thing. And they could study tropical cyclones for all I care, as long as they put out useful graphics like this. And this is definitely one of those from the University of Wisconsin. Sometimes it seems like Antarctica there, I am sure, during the winter. But I digress. They put out these great graphics, and this shows us the vorticity that I often refer to in the modeling. And you can see these areas of energy kind of stretched out in green here across the Atlantic. It's another piece over here. And then up in the mid and higher latitudes, these areas of vorticity are stretched out even more so with these ocean storms. Here's some energy and vorticity over the nation's midsection along the Mississippi Valley anyway. So that's all well and good, but when it gets bundled over the tropics, that's what you look for right there. That is it. That is the DNA, the thumbprint, whatever you want to call it, for what we are looking for. Does anything down here in the deep tropics come together and become a round ball of energy, of vorticity? That's for me, that's what I look for. That is the easiest way to detect when something's getting ready to brew up, because you got to bundle that energy in a tropical cyclone. It's all about that conservation of angular momentum, developing the spiral banding, getting that heat engine going, from the latent heat that's down there near the surface of the earth from all those warm tropical waters. And that's the whole key to a tropical cyclone, is bundling that energy together And that, my friends, even though Blanca is weakening, that is a great example of that down in the deep tropics. And so as you can see across the Atlantic basin here, nothing like that at all. Just a few sparse areas of energy traversing the Atlantic, nothing coming together. And as I will show you in just a moment, I don't see anything brewing up in the computer models. Now, looking out ahead, I saw this interesting tweet. This was retweeted by Eric Blake, who is a forecaster down at the Hurricane Center, a senior hurricane scientist nonetheless. He's been there a while, moved up through the ranks, and he's tweeting about the Climate Prediction Center and their thoughts about what's coming. The Global Tropics Hazards and Benefits Outlook here. Let's change this to yellow so it's not quite as ominous looking. That way it's more like a highlighter instead of doom and gloom. There we go. So this is a neat graphic, an infographic. I mentioned this in my morning podcast, and here it is. This shows us these different areas all around the globe, around the tropics anyway, for tropical cyclone formation, and I can point that out to you down here, and precip, and temperatures, right? So this is the legend. Every good thematic map has a legend, and here you go. So tropical cyclone formation is, and let me get rid of my telestration, high confidence in the red area, and if it's hatched red like that, then it's medium or moderate confidence. So the first time period here, the first window, week 1, from yesterday, or I'm sorry, today through the 8th, below average rainfall is in the yellow areas through here, above average rainfall in the green, with moderate confidence of tropical cyclone formation in those areas. But week 2, look at what happens. Moderate chances, they think, or confidence, of above normal rainfall and above normal, or moderate confidence in, well, I guess it would be above normal. Moderate confidence in, it's not an anomaly, so I'm incorrect at saying above normal. Let me just come back on and calm down a little bit. It is a moderate confidence in their forecast of tropical cyclone formation, not necessarily above normal. Because if this were to happen in that area, it would be absolutely normal this time of year. So that favors the Western Caribbean, and then over here again in the Eastern Pacific. And what threw me off, and let me see if I can zoom in on this graphic. No, it's not good. Oh, there it is. It tried. It's trying. It's the green in there that's showing above normal precipitation, and then embedded in it is that above normal, or I'm sorry, the moderate confidence. See, I can't get away from that concept of above normal. So forget it. We'll just move on. Moderate confidence exists. Just wrecked everything, didn't I? Of tropical cyclones to form over both the Western Caribbean and East Pacific during the 9th through the 15th. That's what you should remember, not my complete botching of that particular part of the discussion. So we'll keep an eye on that area. It would make sense, as I said, climatologically speaking. That's the area that we would expect something to develop. So if we look out at the GFS over the next 5 days or so, remember what I showed you over here with this thing and these little areas of vorticity. This is that same area of the atmosphere, just a different presentation from the GFS. 850 millibar vorticity, just like that other graphic, except that this is the model forecast out into time. There's 48, 72, 96, and 120, and still everything looks nice and calm. Now, just for the sake of an example, all right, because normally going out beyond 5 days is not very helpful, but owing to what we just saw right here with the botched part of the discussion and that graphic I was showing you indicating moderate confidence of tropical cyclone formation. See, I got it right that time. Let's see if the GFS picks up on anything out near June 9th through the 15th. All right, so let's just keep this moving. So there's June 7th, there's June 8th, there's the 9th. Oh, there's something, a little bit of energy there near the Bahamas. See it? I'll draw your attention to it. Right, well, let's just use a different color, shall we? Right in here. So maybe something trying to congeal there. That's the 10th, so that fits the window, but it's not quite the Western Caribbean. There's the 10th, there's the 11th, more activity down there. There's the 12th, and the 13th, 14th, 15th, and the 16th. So, a little bit of a change in the overall pattern in the GFS with more cyclonic flow, this big gyre setting up. And that helps to prove my point that that's what they are looking at. And if you were to read the discussion, which is located in here, it tells you all about it, which I'm not going to go into because you can do that. But that's what that's all about. The modeling, the overall pattern is starting to change and favor more of that cyclonic gyre, that Central American gyre, setting up as we get into the longer time frame, which would favor potentially development somewhere in this area. So it makes sense, and that's so neat that we can see that. It really is in the modeling. That's just so cool, giving us that heads up. Meanwhile, in the Eastern Pacific, the same kind of thing. Blanca goes off and dies away. But then you still have this little area, this little convergent zone, kind of a monsoon trough out here, setting up where stuff can try to get going, but the GFS just not showing it right now anyway for the next week or so. Nothing out there. And if we stretch this out into time as well, maybe it's a tropical cyclone developing way out beyond 10 days. But this is so far out in time, we're just kind of looking for patterns and looking for any consistency in those patterns as we go forward. So the first 5 days, nothing to worry about at all. A very typical June pattern setting up a strengthening Bermuda high, so forth and so on. Beyond the 5-day time frame, we shall see. So we'll see what they say from the CPC, Climate Prediction Center, and elsewhere, and eventually the National Hurricane Center in the days to come. All right, as we get started this hurricane season, remember I'm on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. The brand is Hurricane Track, Hurricane TRACK. We are crowd-funded. All of our activities, amazing work from people helping to support what we're doing, not only with the financial end, because we got to put money in the gas tank and all that good stuff, the hotel rooms, the equipment. Yes, that all takes money, and I got to earn a living. Beyond that, though, some incredible people helping out on the back end of things, and that's all part of this amazing group that I have all met. Every one of these people I've met because of the internet. That's another amazing part of it. All the bad news and the publicity on the negative side for the internet and the trolls that are out there. Very little of that in our little world here, our little micro universe. So I invite you to connect and follow, unless you're a troll, and then just stay on the troll side. But this is how you do it. These are the different areas that we are most active in. And on YouTube, subscribe, like, and share the video if you would, please. It helps those algorithms from what I understand, and it promotes what we're doing and all that good stuff. But that's where we are, all right, on the social media side of things. And again, it is really a great group of people. I'm amazed. I had one gentleman today, Devin, down in Florida, who just alerted me that he was admitted to FIT, the Florida Institute of Technology, I think it is. And because of, partly, not all because of me, but he said that I inspired him. And again, that's somebody I've never met in person, but we know each other through social media, through my work in hurricanes. And it's just an amazing world. It really is. It can be if you make it such. All right? So ending on a positive note, that's a good way to do it. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. I'll be back with you more tomorrow morning. Remember, early on with the Hurricane Season, the podcast. That's a podcast available anywhere you get podcasts. Search for it. Hurricane Season, the podcast. And then I'll be back with you tomorrow afternoon on the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.